Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, it's been an eventful, 2 weeks?
Um, yes, it has been eventful 2 weeks. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna just like side bump into you and just be like, let's start with Lovers Travelogues.
Oh God. All right, let's do it.
It's because I know
Let's do
what
it.
what happened, but I
Yeah.
enjoyed the misery.
I don't. I do not. God, I do not. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, for those who listened to last episode, I bought the ticket packet, whatever you want to call it in English, the 4 games for Hajduk. And yeah, I went to the last 2 games. I'm going to the last two, obviously. So hopefully it's gonna be good. But oh god, so I bought that and with the thinking of, hey, we won the last 2 games. I bought it immediately after the win against Slaven, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is the season. There's no way they don't win at least 2 of these last 4 matches, maybe 3. There's no way we lose any single one because it's Istra Lokomotiva. You should win those. You're in a title fight, and then Dinamo Rijeka, obviously, that's just 2 derbies from the top 3 sides. And yeah, anyways, Sunday comes around. Sunday comes around, and I was actually in Ploče. I moved to Ploče on Friday, and then I went to the match on Sunday to Split. So didn't have as long of a trip as I would have had if I went from Dubrovnik. I get there in time. I spent a bit of time with my friend. We watch 20 laps of the F1 race in Bahrain. Enjoyed that because I'm a Piastri fan and he did good. And please bring Daniel Ricciardo back because I just love Australians in F1. But anyways, I set foot. I I set foot, and whilst watching the F1 stream on my phone, I have Rijeka Varaždin, and it's 0-0. Rijeka has
Mhm.
a man down, and as a fan, I'm thinking, perfect. Let me go to
Yeah,
Poljud. Rijeka's about to drop points. We have a chance to win against Lokomotiva. Is there a better way to spend a Sunday? I don't think there is. Anyways, I'm on my way to Poljud. I'm on my way to Poljud. And just as I'm about to reach my phone to put my ticket out, because it's now on my phone, I hear somebody to the left of me go, "For fuck's sake, those fucking bastards!" And I'm like,
which
"What's he?"
ones?
I'm like, "What's he talking about? Did his bet fail? Did something go wrong?" And then because I have my phone on and I'm trying to find my ticket, I see SofaScore notification pop up. Rijeka won, Varaždin nil. I immediately turn on the stream on my phone and I see Luka Manolo just combined with Fruk. I mean, first that dribble, then combined with Fruk, and then just chip Zelenica as it's regular Tuesday. And I'm like, we're gonna lose now. Shit. I I was kind of betting on Rijeka, drawing or losing, and being like, hey, if Hajduk loses or draws, then we're still there. And then Karadzic right in front of my eyes because I'm on the left side of the stadium. I'm at the southern goal, and I see that goal perfectly. I have a front row seat, and I'm like, this is exactly what I spoke about last podcast. This is exactly what I said. A repeat of Lokomotiv at home, our hopes ending, and then the second half just okay. First of all, I'll get to Livaya. I'll get to Levi, and when he dropped back and put the most perfect pass I've ever seen in my life. But anyways, the 85th minute comes around, and I just see people standing up and going up to leave. It's the 85th.
Yeah.
It's of course okay. We have a man down. Lucic was sent off. I forgot to mention that, which was also I didn't see that by the way. I was like, why is Lucic walking off? Oh, he got a red. Okay, but yeah, second time I see Lucic fucking up because I was at the Hajduk Rijeka match where he passed it
Mhm.
straight to Jankovic. But yeah, and then obviously people just started leaving. I'm just like, guys, there's gonna be added time. We're still in it. We're actually putting pressure on Lokomotiva more. Actually, the first half was great. I have nothing against the first half against Lokomotiva. I think Hajduk played it perfectly, except the finishing part, which I will come to, which was also a problem against Istra. But yeah, thankfully, I watched Trajkovski score a 90 play safe minute. That man loves to score against Lokomotiva, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And yeah, I set foot afterwards, and I'm just like, hey, I'll take a draw. I'll take it. It could have gone worse. We could have lost a draw in the 98th, and technically that goal put us 3 games in front of Dinamo, because if we had lost, Dinamo could jump us. We just because they were just 2 games behind then. But with that draw, we were 9 points ahead, or 6, not 9. We were 6 points ahead. So yeah, I was like, okay, I'll take it. And then Varadin happens. Thankfully, I don't go to away days. Otherwise, I would have lost my shit there. And then Istra. I missed my exam in uni. I'm like, fuck the exam. I'll skip it. Actually, my midterm, not my exam. Thankfully, if it was an exam, I would actually like be kind of pissed about it. But it's a midterm. I can get the exam done. I don't care about that. And anyways, I set foot 11:30 a.m. The bus starts going to Split, and I'm scheduled to arrive around like 15 minutes before 4, so like an hour and 45 minutes before kickoff. Wasn't even close. Wasn't even close to the arrival time. The only consolation I have is that people were going to Zagreb, and they were calling people in Zagreb and be like, "Hey, we're running like 2-3 hours late."
Yeah.
Just so you guys know. Anyways, I get to Split at 5. The amount of construction work, the amount of traffic lights before Split, I've never seen it before. It's so obvious that the presidential that the local fucking elections are going on. Like every city has its elections in town. Now have their elections, and it's so obvious because everybody's just now starting to do some work and be like, "Hey, you should vote for us. See, we're doing this." And just the amount of traffic lights. My Uber driver also told me, who picked me up from the bus station. He also told me that there was a traffic collision, so that was also great. Anyways, I get to my friend's dorm because I have my backpack, because I brought my phone charger, because I was like, hey, I didn't charge my phone that much last night, but I'll charge it at his like an hour before kickoff. No, no. And I put my phone on the most powerful mode of battery saving. I'm not even turning it on to not let it go down because it's at 5%, and my ticket is on my phone. I'm like, I need to run. Anyways, I get to my friend's dorm and I'm like, okay, I'm late. The match has already started. I leave my backpack, I get my kit on, I get my scarf, and I start bolting it to the stadium. Thankfully, it's just 10 minutes away. Faster because I ran. I get to the stadium, I look at my phone, and it's at 3%. And I'm like, thank God I made it. Scan my ticket. My roommate's calling me from my dorm because he needs a live stream so they can watch the match, him and his friends. Here in Dubrovnik, where I am now. And I start opening up YouTube to send him the link. Shuts down. I'm like, oh, well, fuck it. Oh, well.
They didn't miss anything, to be fair.
They didn't, thankfully. Anyways, I get to my seat. I fucking watch that shit. And yeah, oh my God, Richard, that camera.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I did say just before we logged on, my camera up here broke, so this is a different camera.
This is
so we might
one.
just have to go on to the. No, this is the old one.
I mean, yeah.
So this is the one I binned off, which is a really positive sign.
Right.
So probably just have to go retro and actually go with. Oh,
the
it's
webcam.
to work now. Oh, it's going to work now.
Oh. All right. Anyways.
Anyways,
again, I have a front row seat to another goal because ever since I bought those tickets, every single goal has been at the southern goal. So thankfully, I had a front row seat. Thankfully, and then the second half came around. I was just like, why doesn't anybody know how to cross? Has anybody learned how to cross a ball? Even a Rakitic from corners couldn't hit anybody.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, well, this is sad. But at least Dinamo lost beforehand. I'm like, okay, mate. And obviously, I leave the stadium just like fully beaten down. And I'm like, Rijeka's gonna win against Osijek. There's no way Osijek, especially because on the day Osijek news about Osijek not being able to play the players kid, those news came around, and I was like, there's no way they're gonna be able to, win against Rijeka. Surely enough, they did. So my mood straight after was like, we're still in it. I don't care if anybody's gonna beat the worst champion. Let it be us.
Yeah.
Okay, let it be us. I will thrive in it. I will put that on my bio on Twitter, on Instagram, on my Facebook. I might install MySpace so I can put it there also. But yeah, those are my travel logs. Zero happiness. I mean, there was a bit of happiness when Trajkovski scored, and I was like, come on, fucking bring the ball back, try to score another, do the impossible. But no, okay, I'll take a draw. So far so shit.
Yes.
It's been 2 points out of 9 for Hajduk, so I guess let's go on with Hajduk.
Yeah. I mean, I think really we may as well just focus on these sort of midweek games because obviously we were going to record last week, but we got bumped for Jesus. So
I had a problem also where I was just like, well, fuck it. I was like, yeah, not making it. And I was like, anyways, we have the midweek game on. We'll probably do Thursday or Friday better.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, obviously there were 3 bad performances this midweek. Well, there were 5 bad performances, but
that's zero favorites
that,
one. Zero favorites one. I love that.
There were 3 bad performances directly relevant to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
In terms of Dinamo, Hajduk, and Rijeka. Of the 3, Rijeka's performance was probably the best, just in the sense that you sort of had maybe the first 15, 20 minutes where you're like, okay, actually, it looks like it's kind of inevitable that they're going to score. Had a couple of good, chances. Had that great chance that way turned in the box. Yeah, exactly. Milenitsa was doing Milenitsa things. Hajduk, like you say, I mean, it sort of reminded me of I think it was Manchester United against Fulham under Moyes, and that was one game where it was like a turning point because everyone was like, you've just stuck Fellaini up front and you're just bombing in 30 odd crosses and no one can get to headers because you can't cross properly. It was that sort of thing. And Dinamo just is
nothing.
Baturina, chances fell to Baturina, but I think for much of the season, obviously, he's not necessarily looked like he's had the physical shape to deal with the amount of football that's been put on him. This was the time where actually looked like he doesn't have the confidence to. There was one very good chance that he took on his, that sort of came to him about 13 yards out on the volley, and the camera's gone again. That he took on his right being closed down. It was just the wrong shot to try and take on your right on the volley. If you take it on your left, he's peasy, but he's not got the confidence to do it. So was, I mean, it's hard to say because obviously you look at a lot of the comments and listen to a lot of the commentary, and a lot of it is oh wow, we're having such an amazing title race. Who would have thought 4 games to go and things are so close and this and that. But at the same time, everyone who's actually paying attention is like, yeah, we've got a really close title race. But have you seen these teams?
Yeah,
I mean,
especially in the last few weeks.
Yeah, in a way, it's difficult to actually say they're bad because Dinamo got plenty of points in the Champions League. You don't get plenty of points in the Champions League if you are a bad side. But at the same time, again, the evidence of what's in front of our eyes is that they are bad. Hajduk and Rijeka are better, but they are also bad. So we have this weird title race where everyone's falling over. We have a weird relegation race where, again, sort of up until 5 o'clock Wednesday, up till the first whistle of the Rijeka game, you thought, okay, Osijek are really,
Yeah.
really right in trouble here. But now, kind of like, maybe. I still think Simic will get more points between here and the end of the season. There's no doubt about that. But you're starting to think, well, actually, really, you're probably going to win the title with 65 points. To stay up, you're probably going to need 35. And
Yeah.
I went looking back, I don't think there's one where you need. I don't think there'll be as many points needed to stay up in a season as whoever stays up this time will need
Yeah.
to stay up.
So the team with the that was relegated with the most points was Zadar. I think
Yeah.
in the second season when we had the top 10.
Yeah.
And they were relegated with 33.
Yeah.
So
I think
Šibenik is 5 of that.
Yeah, I think that'll be beaten. I mean, for the top, I think in part you want us to say that it'll be the least points ever.
Yeah, now it's
Well,
mathematically
because
mathematically confirmed now because everybody lost.
Yeah, I think under this system, I think previously it's been, I think the title was once won with 60 points, but it was when there was splits and all.
Yeah, no, I think it was even
with
with,
all that
with
nonsense.
it was even with 50 something like in the early days after independence and the camera there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the real retro one, which is the one that's actually stuck on my.
Oh,
so let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
Let's see if this actually even works, because that isn't. Hey, so now you can see a different aspect. I've got a bloody chair now. Right
now we can. We need 2 more angles and we can create a 360 version of your room.
No one wants that. Come on.
But yeah. Anyways, where were we?
Yes. We were talking about teams that are terrible.
Yeah. No. We were at on the point stock. I was like, I think like in the early days after independence, Hajduk won it, or even other teams like in the early days with 50 something points. But that's because the league split into half and we split the points. But obviously, I think this is the tightest race, like just taking all the games into account, like one full season, not no splitting, just full out 36 matches going at it.
I mean, it's tightest from top to bottom, and I think that's why it's kind of hard to judge the quality, really, because as much as, and I mean, this is something so when people in the UK ask, why do you follow Croatian football? What's the standards like? Is not necessarily that the quality there at the top end, but actually the quality at the bottom end. Šibenik, Lokomotiva, Istra, Osijek, and so on. Are better sides than a lot of what we would say are poor sides in the UK. It is a comparatively tight league, but it also feels like the gap. I mean, obviously in points, the gap between top and bottom is lower than ever. But to watch it, the gap between top and bottom is lower than ever as well. And we have 3 really distinct races going on. Which obviously a title race, a European race, and to avoid relegation. And really, I think the only side, I sort of hesitate to say it, the only side with nothing to play for between here and the end of the season is Gorica. Which is weird because they are the worst side on paper. I mean, that's even when you consider, Simic didn't pay people for a while and have had, everything that's been going on with them. Like you say, Osijek have had stuff come out in terms of what's going on with them as well. There's real variables at play that mean that certain sides should be very, very bad, but they are not very bad. I mean, I think it is more just a case that we have a title race between 3 deeply flawed sides. As we've sort of covered in the past, and we go over each time. Hajduk don't know how to beat sides. Rijeka don't have a striker; they're just reliant on Farouk. and Dynamo are just they're, they're just not there this season. You know, they're
Dynamo
not
is so
even.
weird to try and explain to somebody outside of the HNL.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, they're not even organised this season. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
you know, you've been trying, but they finished Wednesday with 10 men because they made 3 subs, one each. So you use up your allocation there, and then Ademi goes off injured. I
yeah,
mean, okay, I know from a head coach perspective, he's in his second or third game ever, but also someone needs to be saying to you, dude, that's not how you do substitution.
yeah. Especially when you have
Um,
5.
yeah, especially when you have 5, use them, use your bench. So there's that, and I mean, you sort of see all that, and in a way, arguably the most surprising result of midweek was Slaven losing,
Yeah,
because
but
actually
then again, they
they're in
didn't have
form.
Nestorovsky. Yeah, but then again, they didn't have Nestorovsky. So
They didn't have Nestorovsky, and they did have a fabulous disallowed goal.
exactly.
Which, if anyone list hasn't seen it, it's just a player falls over and then it gets, you know, kicked from about 22 yards, just straight
Yeah.
on the ground, hits him, boo, over the keeper.
Boop.
But unfortunately, he was prone offside.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Would have
sad
been perfect
times.
though.
It would have been perfect. Yeah, that would have been in bloopers reels. I mean, they don't make, you know, like Danny Baker's goals and gaffes anymore,
Yeah,
but
but they should
they.
just for that.
I mean, I did a thing on social media a few years ago where I think it was during COVID, where I was just watching these videos and just posting the worst parts of it. So I would thoroughly say they should not bring that particular trend back, but that would have gone in.
Yeah. But yeah, God. Where do we start? Do we? Yeah, where do we start? That's my question.
I think that's it. You kind of don't know where to start. We're at the point where almost analysis is completely
No,
redundant.
yeah,
Everyone's so just, it's not good, it's not bad. It's just weird. We're in the bizarro world.
yeah. I mean, this season is very tough to explain. It's very entertaining to watch because you don't know what's gonna happen. None of the players know what's gonna happen, and
But also
yeah, I
not in
mean,
a good way.
yeah, not in a good way. Definitely not in a good way. But just speaking to any Hajduk fan, you're just like, yeah, we're still in it, but like, we're fucking
Why?
shit.
How?
Like I got back from Split, and my Uber driver who brought me back to my dorm, on Thursday, that is, he was like, "Where were you? Were you at home? Like, you're coming back for uni?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was actually in Split yesterday for the match, sadly." And he's like, "Ah, my condolences." And we started talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know how we're still in it." And I'm like, we're still tied for first. God knows how we're still depending on ourselves and now counting on, Rijeka or Dinamo having to slip up so we have a chance.
Mhm.
But no, we still have everything in our hands despite not winning in the last 3 matches.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You know, obviously we have the head-to-heads that are coming in over the next couple of weeks, which make it really interesting because not everyone can't just keep losing when they're playing each other.
No,
I mean, we the fans might lose if it's just, you know, Rijeka Dynamo 0-0,
yeah,
Hajduk Dynamo 0-0, Rijeka Hajduk 0-0. But you know, something has to be decided at some point. Otherwise, let's just clear it off and give the title to Istra.
I
That
mean, as a Hajduk fan, I don't want that.
no,
But realistically, at this point, might as well.
yeah, uh, it's, I mean, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous today. You know, we sort of have a joke about it, but you know, someone has to win this,
Yeah,
and I don't understand how.
Yeah, I literally don't see anybody. The only way I can see anybody win this is because another team is just shittier than them, so they
Mhm.
lose the next 5 matches and they somehow beat them in the head-to-heads. That's the
Yeah,
only way.
I mean, I mean, you look at Dynamo's form, right? Well, up on SofaScore now, they have won 4 of their last 10.
And they beat Šibenik and Osijek currently. At the time, the two were sides when they played them.
Exactly. Now, how are they still in the title race? I don't know. You know,
They shouldn't be.
and this is why sort of for yourself, but probably also any Hajduk fan, any Rijeka fan, any non-Dynamo fan, you probably have this sort of sense of dread that we've not killed them yet. We've not
No.
killed them yet, and at some point, they're
Especially
going to
now.
wake up.
Especially on Sunday, they play Rijeka. If they win that and Hajduk drops points in Osijek,
Yeah.
they're what one? They're 1 point behind.
Well, that's it. If Dynamo win out, they win the title.
Most likely.
Let's be honest. You have Hajduk, sorry, Rijeka or Hajduk would also have to win every game other than Dynamo to stop them. Well,
Yeah.
that
That's not
literally
happening.
can't happen, but it's not happening.
It's not happening.
And
Like there's no way. Like either of these three sides, they're not winning their last 5 matches in a row.
no,
They're
and
just not.
the ridiculous thing is, we are end of April, and
Yeah.
Slaven have not been eliminated from title contention.
No. They can still do it.
They can still finish 7th,
I
and they can finish first. And I don't know which would be more surprising at this point.
yeah. I mean, Gorica has gotten some form now, so you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, also you sort of got to think it. Rijeka's form puts the cup into
Yeah.
a lot of interest as well because again a stuttering. If you're Slaven, at some point you've got to just put all your eggs in one basket and say, okay, do we go and secure 4th in the league or do we see if we can win the cup? And you end up in a different round of the Conference League, and that's about the difference, isn't it? So
Yeah.
What would you rather have? So that's going to be an interesting thing, which is why it's so interesting that we have these 3 races. And to someone who's looking at this and might be thinking, we're not really bigging it up or anything. We're not really hyping it. But this has negative hype.
Yeah.
It's gone
on the
out the
other
other
spectrum.
side. It's gone out the other side because everyone's so flawed. And that's it. I don't feel like, we're half an hour in. I don't yet feel like I've made a cogent and sensible point about anything.
Yeah.
Which is quite bad because I do, surprisingly enough, prepare a little bit.
Yeah. But no, like there's nothing positive to say. I mean, the only positive thing to say is there is a title race. We have 3 teams in it.
Yeah.
Everybody's fighting for something at some kind of level. Gorica, you did say you think they're the only ones, but they still can't get relegated. They still have to beat Šibenik on Monday to really secure that, safeness. If they lose to Šibenik, then they're also in trouble because then Šibenik get some form with 2 wins in a row, and God knows what happens next.
And it's not as if Šibenik didn't actually deserve to beat Lokomotiva. They did.
No, they did.
Absolutely. On the XG it was 0.7 for Lokomotiva, 1.5 for Šibenik. So the stats don't lie. They created a lot of good chances. And won it absolutely on merit. Arguably, who the second, obviously, they're 5 points back from Lokomotiva, so they're still heavily favourites for relegation. But like you say, they only need to win 2, and if Lokomotiva don't pick up anything, I mean, and again, Osijek still deep in it. Gorica, like I say, I mean, I said they've got nothing to play for, but only because I think 35 points is probably enough. But like I say, if Šibenik there, then that's a 4-point gap with 4 to go. That's not
Yeah.
that big a gap, but it also would rely on Osijek and Lokomotiva not
Losing
winning
everything,
things
yeah.
between here and now. And, Lokomotiva, Osijek, that's 9th of May. That's, going to be really an eliminator
Yeah.
if Subic do find some form. Because, like I say, they could easily beat Gorica. And then, like you say, in terms of them rounding off the season, obviously their final day is against Hajduk, so that's pretty much a guaranteed 3 points. It's just unpredictable.
Yeah. I mean, that should be a positive for us. Like, we should be speaking about this. Hey, we have a title fight going on, relegation fight, a European fight. It's so close, we can't tell what's gonna happen. But it's not in a positive light because nobody's been playing that good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could talk about it in a positive light this time last season because
Yeah.
Dinamo and Rijeka, obviously you had a title fight, but also you had a title fight because both sides were good. They were playing really good attacking football, and ultimately it failed because Rijeka just lost it at the line.
Yeah.
This time around, there's no one's got it to lose it,
Yeah.
and
Everybody
any
has it, but everybody's dropping it.
yeah, at any point over the past 2, even 3 months, let's be honest, a side could have put together a run of 3, 4 wins in a row. If they'd done that, we'd probably say the champions now.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fair to say, but no one has. They're just too
No.
interested in. Let's just see how low a points total we can have to actually win the title.
Yeah. All right, let's go team by team. Let's go with Rijeka first. You mentioned the form just now.
Yeah.
They haven't won 3 straight in the league. Not once. 0 times. They've won 3 times in a row if you count the cup, but without the cup, just the league, zero free wins in a row.
And even then, that cup win was pretty much handed to them. I think it's fair to say.
But I'm also counting Hajduk and the previous 2 rounds.
Yeah,
and the semifinal against Slaven.
Yeah.
Istra, actually. Sorry.
Yeah. Again, so as we mentioned last time, if they win the title, it's Tony Frick's title because they have had good bits from people. Jara has had a good period for me. In other words, a couple of weeks where he was why they were earning points. Radelic has popped up with some really good interventions for a player I'm not that keen on generally. He has popped up with a few good things here and there. But at the end of the day, if they don't win, they will just regret not having. And they've had all season to get a striker in, and all they brought in was Douya Chop. And it's not a disrespect to Douya Chop because obviously
we expected more.
Well, I mean, did we?
I mean, I did.
I
expected more goals.
Yeah, than 2. Fair enough. But that's not too difficult to get more than that. But at Lokomotiva, everything was there for him. I mean, you don't get that at Hajduk. So he sort of rode his form a little bit. He obviously scored against Osijek, scored against Dinamo, but obviously Dinamo fell apart that day. I could have scored against them. So that's not really a fair stick to judge. And the point is still, if you're Rijeka and you seriously want to win the title, you should be getting in something better than, okay, let's be honest, a 35-year-old guy who 18 months ago everyone thought was done at this level.
Yeah.
They haven't done it effectively, and that's been the problem. Obviously, you had Dogan, didn't work. Chop hasn't really worked. If we're honest, I think if they'd been the side that brought in Jakupovic, they'd be champions already.
Probably, but yeah, they didn't bring him in. Osijek did, and we know where they are.
Yes.
But I also another problem for Rijeka is obviously selling 3 key players in the winter.
Mhm.
with Galicic sending him to Dinamo, and Dinamo he actually hasn't looked that good.
Yeah.
But then again, who has looked good at Dinamo this year? They also sold Smolcic to Como, and they sold Pasalic to the USA.
Mhm. I mean, they got. Let's be honest. They got very good money. Yeah, I think between the three.
No, they got the money.
Yeah, between the three, that's about 8.5 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Which didn't get invested. But but that
I don't think the
that's
point. I don't think
Miskovic.
I don't think Mishkovic was selling with the point to reinvest. I think he was
No.
just selling it to obviously. But uh, I wanted to allude to their depth. There's just no depth in that team except Menalo, who made that great run and lob against Farazim. But other than that, nobody has offered anything off the bench.
No, not really. And I think that's kind of just also issue that they do have on paper a deep midfield. But Petrovic is a good midfielder, but he's a tidy passer you have at the base.
Yeah.
Salahi, we know he does plenty of good running, but again, you kind of have him at the base. What they don't have is that attacking spark because they have to play Fruk as a striker to make up for what they don't have. And even, like say their depth options there, you've got Goyak, who is the most unclutch player in the history of football. And that's all we've really seen too much of. Like you say, Menelo, but obviously Menelo is very up and down in form. And Joao Rukavini, again, two players who are up and down in form. What they don't have these, but none of those last few players are central players.
No.
So again, there's things missing in that side that really in any other year would have ruled them out already. But again, this isn't any normal year. I think
this is the most specific season. I don't think we're ever until the end of my life. I don't think I'll see a similar season to this one.
Yeah, and I think even though people don't really rate Jalovic that much because again, arguably, well, he should be doing better with this side. And again, we come to the end of the season, they've won a title. You can't actually do better than what he's done, but you can because they've only got 56 points.
Yeah.
And you kind of look, well, actually, Goda, has had plenty of time at Rijeka and been fantastic, but he doesn't even get off the bench.
Yeah.
Anymore. We're like, okay, but he would be a really good attacking option you could use. That's not to disrespect Devdak or anything like that. That's just to say, are you getting the most out of that squad? Probably not.
No.
So yeah, I think the big issue is obviously the striking issue.
Because just recently it's just been Fruk.
Exactly, and I mean even of those players, like you say that went, Pasalic, Galicic, Smolcic, then they weren't the person you put in the center of a front line. Any of them.
I mean, they also lost Perica and Andrich, but they weren't playing that much.
Yeah, Andrich didn't contribute and has continued also to not contribute. So, I mean, really, we're talking about the last striker they had of any note was Ivanovic.
Yeah.
Or I think even Obregon. Maybe if they kept Obregon, that would have been it. But I don't know. They need something because they have nothing and they've just run Fruk into the ground. Unlike Baturina, he appears to be capable of shouldering that burden. But
for now,
there's only so much he can do. And yeah, like you say, for now, we thought Labrovic had shouldered all that burden all of last season, and then for now came in the last 3 games.
Yeah. I mean, and now Rijeka has a new problem with Radalic. Obviously, you mentioned subs from Dinamo. Same thing happened in the Rijeka match. Subs were already used, and Radalic got injured, so Rijeka had to play with 10 men in the last few minutes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
Um,
look good because some reports have come out that he might be out until the end of the season, which is only a month. So, you know, any kind of injury now to any kind of player is probably rules them out for the season.
and if there's one position where they don't have depth at all, it's
Yeah,
centre back.
yeah,
It's not
because they're
even.
gonna. The last time when who was suspended, I think it was Radilic also that was suspended not that
It
long
usually
ago.
is, yeah.
Yeah, they put Devetak at center back and Godat at left back.
Yeah. Well, that's what we'll have to do
Yeah,
going forward because they don't have a first team ready replacement in the
they
centre back
don't.
role, which is
Yeah,
again a bit of an oversight.
yet again another oversight. But then again, I mean, considering that they haven't won once, like not once, strung together 3 wins, they shouldn't be in the title fight.
No.
But they are. Neither should Hajduk, neither should Dinamo. Just to finish that off, but
Neither should
nobody
Slavo.
should. Nobody should be in this title fight. Is what we're saying. Nobody deserves it, really. But yeah, it's been a fascinating season. But yeah, I mean, so what happened since we last recorded with Triek? Obviously, they lost to Osijek.
Yes.
They also lost to Istra. Got absolutely
Obviously.
dominated again. And as I mentioned, they won against Varazim with 10 men.
Yeah, and we're obviously fortunate. Like you say, Istra really did beat them
Yeah.
absolutely fair and
Once
square.
it was pretty much the same game as in the semifinal, but just the results were inverse.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing we sort of obviously said it all season long about Istra. Istra are a very, very
Yeah.
good side when they convert.
Yeah.
When they don't convert, they're still a good side. They're just a side that don't score.
That doesn't
But
win.
exactly, and when they do, then they're on their day they're the best in the league, which again is a ridiculous thing to say about Istra. But
Not now. Not
not
this
this season, but
not this season. Who
But-
knew back in July when we were making our predictions that we would be saying, yeah, Istra is the best team in the league at the end of April with 5 games
Yeah.
to go.
but it's not an unfair thing to say.
No, it's not.
They have been a far more resolute side this season than in most before. Obviously that's always been their issue is that they can't really defend for Toffee. But like I say, I mentioned last time, what they've got in Koski and Marasic is two good progressive ball players from the centre back area. I was praising Marasic to sort of people in Austria, and they were like, "Yeah, but we remember watching him in the Austrian Bundesliga." Like, yeah, but he's really good here.
Yeah. Which,
and
if they look at the league now, they're just like, well, the league's shit.
yeah, and I think the other thing that sort of we've seen is that they're able to use under Garcia, they're able to use Gagwa more effectively.
Yeah,
And
especially against Hajduk, he was very good.
yeah, they've just got that centerpiece who occupies defenders, who consistently is able to hold the ball up and lay the ball off, and you have
I've
players around him who want to
never
run.
I've never realized why he hasn't played more because it's not like he was bad whenever he played. Whenever he made an appearance, he was good.
Yeah, I mean the only reason he's at this level is because he had a pretty bad injury.
Yeah.
And that really is sort of what stopped him coming through in Spain. He's, sort of, I think probably hinted at when he first came in. He's a player I watched with interest for a few years because again, he sort of knew he was going places. Well, okay, it's taken him till being 23 and getting this chance to go places, but now you look and you're like, yeah, okay. You can progress a level up because you actually you get in the game time really for the first consistent time in your career.
But yeah, I mean, let's go back to Rijeka's game against Istra shortly because, as I said, completely outplayed.
Mm-hmm.
Completely. Rijeka couldn't do anything going forward. Listza with some top-notch assists. Like when I talk about Hajduk not being able to cross, then Lisca provides two amazing crosses
Mhm.
to the
Yeah.
far post, and Laval and Rosic are just there perfectly, just waiting for that ball to fall. And because Rijeka is so preoccupied because they've been played, they've just been strung around by Istra's passes.
Well, exactly. We
Nobody
played.
knew who to mark.
Yeah, they played through, and that the one thing Easter have had all season that they've had trouble with, sort of combining, is they always have multiple runners. So
Yeah,
you always have that back post option because, like you say, if it's Lisa or if it's Laval, they can just bomb it into and drive into the box
yeah,
and put it across. And you just need to have someone there to be a good enough cross.
yeah.
And they're able, like I say, now under Garcia, we're really actually seeing them put that together consistently.
And against Osijek, I mean, nobody was expecting it. I think it's fair. I don't think anybody except some people that put a bet on it and put a bet on everybody losing, every single favorite, and they got what, 2,000 euros of putting in like 10.
They should have put more on.
They should put more on. You should have put the house on.
Yeah.
You would have gotten back. I don't know, a country. You would have you would have gotten back the whole of Netherlands.
You've been able to have paid off Sibenik's former managers. Um,
Oh God. See, as soon as Tsutanic got paid off, he got hired at Lokomotiva until the end of the season, which is also new news, dear listeners. Tsutanovic will lead Lokomotiva until the end of the season.
yeah, because they're worried.
Because obviously, yeah. I mean, yeah, Fenerbahce hasn't been doing that well. But yeah, against Osijek, Rijeka, I mean, Omerovic, I think he is the best dribbler in the league, and I think he confirmed that against Rijeka. And I think he does have the most successful dribbles this season. And I mean, after as you mentioned, after those first 20 or so minutes, look, Osijek took control. Obviously, the goal fell in the 32nd, and then it was just Rijeka really not really doing anything. Osijek just had chance after chance.
I think what we've seen really is what Osijek needed was just, because I'm very, very lazy. What I'm about to say is Osijek just needed a goal, and they just needed
Yeah,
a little bit of confidence behind them. Then you actually see, okay, yeah, actually, they, I mean, they have been a good side all along. There's been no
they're
doubt about
not
that.
playing that badly. They're now playing to be eighth.
They under Copatelli they weren't up until this game under Rodman. They were because
Okay,
was
yeah,
saying
but
that
I'm
last
speaking
time.
about the whole season as a whole.
Yeah, as the season as a whole, they shouldn't be eighth with the squad. They really
Yeah.
definitely shouldn't be eighth. But obviously they've had a bit of bad luck with injuries. Obviously Matkovic
Yeah,
being out, and in terms of keeping people fit, just in general through the squad, has been an issue. But yeah, like you say, they needed that one goal, and then immediately I think it's probably a combination of one giving themselves a bit of confidence, but also two,
yeah,
Rijeka probably don't need more doubt and anxiety
yeah.
at this point of the season. We don't need more doubt and anxiety,
No,
just in general, but Rijeka in particular,
but we
uh,
have it. We got it.
we have it, yeah.
But as we're on the point of Osijek and we were on Jakubovic, I mean that goal against Gorica Damos went in, that back heel.
Mhm.
If that had went in, that would have been on every single sports page in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, because he
It
is.
was
I mean,
so beautiful. He's just so nonchalant. Just I'm just gonna back heel it.
And I mean, again, that's one thing that you can say about Jakubovic is that he's never not actually been in form this season. He,
Yeah,
for a player who, obviously he's taking a step up in league. Obviously when he came in, I don't say I expressed my doubts about him. I think
yeah,
that's probably unfair, but I expressed sort of my concerns around how he would be as a fit for Osijek. He's not. He's been consistent and consistently effective.
yeah,
Even in this really terrible run Okay, he last scored in January, which is actually a surprise to me. But he's still been effective. He's still there winning balls. He's still there working, doing what you want him to do, and probably that's sort of the misconception of what people think Kukovic is. People think you're spending £1 million on a striker. Well, actually, no, you're spending a guy who was a striker, but he really a converted winger. And
Yeah.
a lot of his best work isn't scoring; it's in doing stuff around the box, which he has continued to do. Osik just haven't had players available. Let's be honest, to capitalize on the work that he's been doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, let's
That was
let's
my
go
mic swiftly going off then.
let's go per the table. Let's go to Hajduk now, kind of focus on them again. I mean, first of all, the Diallo red card against Varaždin. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are initially in trying to remember it, because so much has happened.
Yeah. No, because it was a huge talking point before Wednesday, and we obviously missed free game
Yeah.
weeks.
I think to remember it. It was deserved. Let's go with it. It was deserved. That it usually is. And I know you're not a big Diallo fan, so
I mean, I'm not a big Diallo fan just because, and okay, Melniak after Diallo's red card in Varaždin, Melniak was god awful, but against Istra, Melniak's good side showed because he was actually prepared to play the match. He was fully prepared, full 90 minutes. You just saw the old runs from him. You just saw him joining the attack and being dangerous. He almost scored twice. One block and one shot where I was very pissed because it was just in front of me and he decided to go for a first time shot instead of taking a touch and then going for a shot or going for a pass back to somebody. But fair enough. Still very good. I would very much prefer that Diallo be suspended until the end of the season and I see Melniak on the left. But yeah, the problem with that red card is we've seen multiple situations like that throughout the season. Obviously, a camera afterwards came from a fan's point of view where he just just does this to Mitrovsky, and Mitrovsky sells it perfectly because to the cameras we have on TV that the VAR refs have, it looks like I also thought he punched them, like fully just like punched them with his fist or just with his elbow. But yeah, that didn't happen. But then again, we don't have the cameras, and with the cameras given, also you can't really say that he punched them, didn't punch them. In the official from the referees committee, they say that he hit him with his elbow and his left fist, and I'm like, his left fist it's not even close to Mitrovsky on the replay. That's the only thing that's visible from that he didn't use his left hand. But yeah, then again, our refereeing committee hasn't really proven to be any much better since Layek came in, the new French guy that's ahead of the committee.
And I suppose that's the thing is if you are making a motion, you're always going to be putting yourself at risk.
Yeah, and also just why did you do it? Okay, you had some role, but still, just hash it out later when Mitrovsky has the ball. That's when you can do that because
Yeah.
you're fighting for the ball. Nobody's gonna look twice.
Exactly. It's not even petulant. It's just silly.
Yeah, especially at this point of the season.
Yeah.
Just don't be like doing anything of any sort to other players unless they have the ball. And I don't mean two-footing them.
Yeah. And I think particularly against Varaždin as well, because if you decide you don't want to go 10 down to 10 against,
I mean, you don't want to go down to 10 against anybody.
Against, well, no, obviously against anyone, but you don't want to against an exceptionally well drilled defensive outfit who are going to be hard to break down anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, before that red card, we had a massive chance with Rusin, who hit the post. And we were actually looking good for those, 20 minutes before Diallo decided to have a scrabble with Mitrovsky. But I don't think it's a red because people have been pulling out that that Petkovic, like when he shoulder checks him after a foul, but then again, that's very visible, and that's I don't think that should be a red ever in football. But then again, as I mentioned, nobody saw that. The referee was just looks like it. I can't really prove it, but hey, if he did, then it's a red. If he didn't, well, it's a 50-50. I'll give a red, and then what happens happens.
Yeah, I think referees do tend to err on the side of discipline,
Yeah.
really.
And the penalty for Hajduk in that match shouldn't have stood.
No.
Because immediately when I saw the replay behind the goal, which actually took a long time to get shown on TV because the VAR refs didn't show it to, was it Chulna? Yeah, Chulna was the main ref at Hajduk Quarestin. They didn't show it to him, and it's the best angle. It literally shows you everything. It shows you that Škaričić doesn't step on Levaja. Levaja steps on him, which immediately reminded me of Postojnski Krovinovic a few seasons ago. Also at Varaždin, where Postojnski stamps Krovinovic and Varaždin looks for a penalty.
Yeah, but again, if you're a striker, you're always going to go down there.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
the City,
Especially
this-
with 10 men. Especially with 10 men, you're trying to get any call your way.
yeah, again, you just let's give the referee a decision to make,
Yeah.
and they'll tend to make the wrong one.
Yeah, but I don't think that was a fault at Chulina because I think from just the general camera view, like the TV and his point of view, probably looked like a foul.
Yeah,
But I would mainly blame the VAR refs who had the camera angle, which was later shown on TV, but they didn't show it to him. So that's yet another mistake from the refs.
yeah,
But yeah, back to what I wanted to say about Hajduk against Istra. I think Hajduk played. I mean, Gattuso said it. We played a good match off the ball. We didn't let Istra like play through us as they did against Rijeka and Dinamo. But the amount of duels we lost in the midfield and the amount of times we won the ball and Prpić or Uremovic made a poor first touch or poor decision, and we just lost in the middle of the pitch. We could have
And
easily had more possession if we just controlled those second balls, but we didn't. And obviously, that goal, Pukstas goes down. No, there's no way that in a world that's a foul in football. It's way too light.
it's not, and I think Pukstas just had a bit of a bad game in general.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think anybody really had a good game for Hajduk
No.
except Melniak. I can't really point anybody out.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think you've hinted at this before. When you're looking at that starting lineup and you're like, why is Krivinovic not there?
Yeah, but I was like, oh, Krovinic is coming on. Okay, we're gonna have some good ball possession. First pass of the match, straight to an Istra player, Istra on the counter. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but I mean, again, obviously, Pukstas has not done himself any favors, as we know. Obviously, all season we've not seen as much of him as last year. It's quite clear Gattuso doesn't. Fancy him. It's quite clear. You should have cashed in on him last summer when
yeah.
could have made a decent amount of money. You
Against
won't
Varaždin,
now.
though, against Varaždin, though, Pukstas was the best player.
Mhm.
He won every duel, every area duel, especially the area duels, because we needed those. With 10 men, you needed those, and he won every single one.
But Varaždin play at you in straight lines, and Istra
Yeah.
don't. That's
they don't.
really your big difference. Is the movement that he had to face against each side is so different. He's not suited really for a defensive task against Istra, and also really an attacking task either. Because it aside from a couple of half chances, and I think really that's what's fair to say is how it only really did create half chances. I think the best chance was Brajkovic. Just
Brajkovic when he missed the ball,
Yeah,
just before
and-
the goal. It's literally the two same situations, just on opposite ends of the pitch, and obviously I think differently.
Yeah,
Because
one
Brajkovic
reached the
has
ball,
it-
one didn't.
Yeah, because Brajkovic hesitated just before committing because he was like, "Am I gonna make it?" And then just that second of thought, a second of stopping, meant that we didn't take the lead.
Yeah, and I mean that was that was really it for good chances. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say. You know, Easter then, once they get going, say there's a difficult side to play against because of their mobility, and that's just what defenders don't like defending, because it's
Yeah.
very easy to defend when things are in front of you, when you can see everything that's going on. It's when oh, he's running there and he's running there, that is what's difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
That mobility, and how you challenge that tactically is in two aspects. Firstly, you do what Melania did, which is you push up the wing. So
Yeah.
you actually say, well, okay, you want to run up there, that's fine, but if we counter on you, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And he was able to do that very effectively. The other thing you do, and this is something that Easter do that I don't, is that you invite the press and you play through it. I say, if you want to press at us, if you want to use your athletic ability to run at us, absolutely fine. We're going to make sure that your effort is wasted, because we're just going to pass it around the fence. We're going to play it through
Yeah.
midfield. We're going to tire your press out.
Yeah, but the
And
problem is Istra didn't really play out against Hajduk. Hajduk even made Istra commit like 3 massive mistakes.
Mhm.
One massive mistake was I think Valencic tried to make a switch and play to Kadushi because he had no other options,
Mhm.
and he hit Levi, but because it was such a hard ball, Levi couldn't control it. But that was in the box. If Levi somehow got that under control, that's most likely a goal. And obviously, Rakitic's was it Rakitic's attempt?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That also, and another where Perpic just once again just couldn't control the ball,
Mhm.
and Istra got it back. And just not didn't get it back, but it was just unnecessary. It was just unnecessary, you were just causing duels in the middle of the pitch as the last as a center back,
Yeah, exactly.
essentially as the last man.
If you've got that technical ability at the back, again, sort of, make that comparison to Marasic, again, you can invite that pressure and then you turn it and you create space in the middle for,
Yeah,
Rakitic, for Buksas to turn and have space to play in themselves. It's about how you're actually pulling the opposition about in a offensive transitional phase that creates a positive attacking phase for you, and that is what I don't really have. Like you said, it was the case that, okay, we're gonna pass it around, you're in quite a good shape, we're gonna have to go out wide and see if we can cross it in. And
yeah.
again, Hajduk aren't equipped really for that. Yeah,
No, we don't
Sporting's
have
fair share
any.
of headers.
We don't have any people that can really jump and get a header on target,
Yeah,
except Pukstas and maybe Uremovic, but that's mostly it.
exactly, and on top of that, you don't really have any players whose natural position is going to be, I was going to hang around here for a second ball if it
Yeah,
comes out.
yeah,
So it's really futile attacking shape
yeah.
from Hajduk, unfortunately.
What I wanted to mention was before the games on Wednesday, I wrote an article about the title race with 6 games to go, and I was like pointing out what everybody's, let's say, powers are, like what can go into their favor. For Hajduk, I wrote the longing, the yearning that can either drive a team or it can crush it, which we saw last season. And
Well,
I at the end of my
maybe,
section,
maybe if the 12th man hadn't turned up quarter of an hour late, they would have
hey,
won.
it's not my fault. It's not my fault. But anyway, fair point. Anyways, but at the end of my section for Hajduk, I wrote, I don't think it's anything got to do with tactics. I don't think tactics are the problem of Hajduk. I think Gattuso is okay with tactics. I think for the HNL, he does okay tactically. The problem now is, are the players going to be able, especially Brajkovic, who's now been put into the starting lineup, despite not playing a single game before except off the bench, and now being thrusted in. Shego coming back from Varaždin as this big signing. Everybody expects him to do something. still hasn't provided that something. Everybody else, Hrgovic, Prpic, two boys who have come up from the academy fighting for the title, are they going to be able to cope with the pressure? Because that physical block of can we do it or we can do it is massive.
Mhm.
And we saw, I mentioned Brajkovic just taking that one moment before deciding to go for that ball that was put across the 5 meter box. That's what could cost you the title because the players don't believe in themselves. And Shego and Brajkovic didn't put, I don't think them two combined didn't put two crosses in together because they were either waiting too much on the ball or trying to do too much. They didn't know what to do with the ball. And as soon as Durdov came in, was actually when we actually got a winger who actually was like, okay, I'll just put it on my left foot or I'll do something and I know where the ball is going to come up. He does something with a tent. While Shego and Brajkovic didn't really do anything with a tent that I saw. Durdov was the only one on the wing that came on, got the ball, and had an idea what he was gonna do. Dribble past two players, deliver a ball to Levaya, play a 1-2, or cross the ball, and that's it.
But
Shego and Brajkovic didn't really do anything that kind
and I think
to provide to the attack.
and I think you almost flip it round. You say like Durkheim, he had an idea of what to do. It's
Yeah,
almost it's not even that. It's a, a lack of restriction. Yeah, you got to play it with the reins off.
yeah,
Shego was able to be as important about to Varasine as he did, not because he was playing instinctively, but because he was given a
yeah,
fairly free role. The person
yeah,
who had that sort of more positional responsibility was Mitrovsky. Um, Brajkovic, if you're learning your game, you're naturally going to be right. Okay, I'm going to focus on being competent at what I'm meant to be doing, rather than necessarily doing. I don't want to say the brave thing because I think it's quite harsh to put that sort of wording on a
yeah,
young player. But Bailey, I think you need to do what you're confident in naturally, rather
yeah,
than necessarily what you're asked to do tactically. That's probably the difference there. Like you say, it's that very much that mental block of what you carry on your shoulders, in terms of the weight of expectation. It does work both ways. You talk about the belonging. Obviously for yourself, never having seen it. It's a big thing for a new generation of fans. It's a big thing for an old generation of fans.
yeah,
And unlike any other venue in Croatia, you've got that volume of fans, that volume of noise, and that volume of pressure. And it's understandable that you sort of go into your shell and concentrate on trying to do
yeah,
things right rather than trying to do the right things, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. No, there's a quote from our old captain, Milovic. Whenever there's some party in town, we fuck it up. And that was like 10 years ago or even more. So this like Hajduk mentality, let's call it, of bottling when it's most important, has been going on for so long because every like players growing up, Perpic, Hrgovic, Durdov have seen Hajduk come close and fail. Not really come close. So, I mean, okay, with Damrosas we came close. Other times, you important match against Dinamo in 2017, 2018 at home, you lose 2-1. Whenever you had a big match, you tend to lose it. Or with Namruskas, you beat Dinamo at Poljud, you're back in it, you draw to Slaven.
Yeah. And that's a really again, it's a really big mental block to try and get over. And
Yeah,
as much as say like whenever you're in it, then you end up out of it because of form or whatever. At the same time, in all those opportunities, you've actually never been this in it.
no, no.
um because you're this in it because everyone else is falling over as well.
Well, yeah, like before we were always training behind Dinamo, trying to catch up to Dinamo. Now
Hmm.
we we have everything in our hands. If we win the last 5 games, that's it. Nobody asks you what you did. You win it. If you win the
Yeah,
last 5 games, you don't depend on anybody else.
yeah. But unfortunately, you also can't depend on yourself at the minute.
No, nobody can. Nobody can depend on themselves. Everybody's counting on the other team losing twice more or dropping points two more times
Yeah.
because nobody's gonna be able to string together 5 wins.
Yeah. That maybe Easter at the minute.
Okay, but yeah, you get my point.
Yeah, but that's it. You know, like the teams you can trust almost are the teams that have no business being trusted.
Yeah,
The only surprise is normality at this point,
yeah,
which which probably would lead to what would be the biggest surprise of all, how this season has gone. It would be if Dinamo, 4 managers in, win the title.
yeah.
So
But a caretaker.
we do have to entertain that possibility now.
Yeah. And speaking of Dynamo, let's get them. I mean, we don't have that much to say about Dynamo, do we? Because it's just been the same all season.
Um, I mean, it's been a very badly led season. I think it's
Yeah.
fair to say, and I don't mean that for the managers,
No.
because they should never have sacked Jakirovic. If they had not sacked Jakirovic, they would already be champions. Because have you seen how the other sides have been?
And
You know,
Yakiroc's work in Turkey has been phenomenal.
yeah, at the end of the day, that Dinamo side, had 2 bad results. You could have 2 bad results. Any one. They've also had about another 10 or 15 bad results since
I was gonna
letting
say
him go.
afterwards they've had multiple chances to sack everybody. If they stuck by that term of two bad results, you're gone. They would have been at 10 managers now.
Exactly. And at least under Jakirovic, Dinamo were very good from an attacking sense.
Yeah,
Which, okay, there's been external factors this season in terms of the volume of injuries they've had, in terms of the amount of football that they've had to give to certain players. But you can be damn sure that if Jakirovic had still been about, they wouldn't be losing 1-0 to Goritza. And that's not as a disrespect to Goritza, it's just that Dino wouldn't have scored 0.
yeah,
And okay, Goritza deserved it. Okay, there were a couple of good saves from Banic. Yeah, when Banic is busy, he's brilliant. We know that.
yeah,
As sort of indicated towards the start, Baturina had a couple of good chances, just didn't look confident. Thought his technique in taking them was all wrong.
yeah,
And you'd love to be the video analyst there, because you'd be straight on next morning like, this, don't do this again. And Piazziti, as we know, is really good.
yeah. I'm really praying that Piazziti comes to Hajduk if he somehow win the title. Like
I
God,
I mean,
please.
this thing, his contract is up in the summer with Fulham.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
That's why I'm mentioning it.
so it's very interesting. I think the injuries he's had
Are a problem.
yeah, but I think also Goretzka would have more points if he'd been available all season. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I also think the only reason he would be in the higher level next season is because of the injury issues, because of that
Yeah,
weakness. Because scouts are going to look at him and have a bit of doubt. Okay, what's his robustness like? He isn't the biggest guy. I think it's fair to say. And he probably could stand with doing a little bit more in the weight room. I think a lot of scouts would probably point at that. But he absolutely got the quality, and he's the most. I mean, like you say, you like to see him at Hajduk. You and I both know. Let's be honest. History shows us this plenty. He's absolutely Miskovic coded for next season, isn't he?
yeah. I mean, especially with he's essentially Fruk.
Yeah.
He's essentially Fruk at this point. But yeah, especially now after he scored against Dinamo and got the win there. But I've seen Rijeka fans. Hey, the white looks good on you, but let's add a little bit of light blue.
Yeah. I think. I mean, it would be a logical signing Let's be honest, from what we've discussed.
I mean, yeah, they
But
they need more depth in the midfield,
yeah,
good depth.
yeah. I mean, sort of back to Dynamo. I mean, again, I think of the three in sort of this midweek, Dynamo were probably the one that impressed me least. No, don't get me wrong, none of them impressed me. This is just shades
Yeah,
of shit.
yeah,
But
the worst of the worst.
yeah, I think Dynamo's ultimate problem is everywhere.
Yeah,
They don't have goals. Kanga just
but no.
he isn't
And
at this
Kolenovic,
level.
also Kolenovic, I saw, I think Stats Zone posted on Twitter. He essentially just showed that Kolenovic only scored against Šibenik, Gorica, and Osijek. That's it.
I think he only scored in October. He had one really good month, and we're like, whoa, okay, he's arrived. He's
Oh,
actually,
yeah,
he's taken the responsibility of not having Bekovic really well.
yeah,
Wow, and then stop.
yeah. But that's also just in the Heinel. There's he also scored in the Champions League a few
Yeah.
times, but that's obviously not included. But yeah, in the Heinel only against Šibenik, Gorica, and Osijek.
Mhm. And I think that's another thing we can point about this league, and it's why it's so hard to judge the quality of it. This Dinamo side beat Milan like 3 months ago, and Milan beat Inter
They-
like 3 days ago. What?
No, like Dinamo was what a late goal in the Sporting Club Rouge match away from going through and playing in the knockouts of the Champions League.
Yeah. So they can't be that bad, but
So is the
again, they are.
league the best it's ever been? Actually, are Dinamo and Rijeka actually the best teams?
I mean,
And Dinamo is like,
I think
should we expect Hajduk and Rijeka to finish in the top 8 if they win the league of the Champions League phase?
I mean, I think this is the thing. I mean, I do think the bottom end, obviously, the bottom end is better than last season.
Yeah, I
Šibenik are better than Rudez.
it's not hard. It's not hard.
But yeah, I think even in most seasons, there's tended to carry at least one bad side. Whether it's Rudez, whether it's
Dragovolets.
whether it's Dragovolets, Šibenik even a couple of seasons ago, Inter, Leipzig,
Yeah.
And what there's never really been, which is what we do have this season, is a cohort of 4 or 5 mid sides that are very good. Slavin have never been this good. Istra haven't been this good. Varazin haven't been this good. I think even Gorica. I think if we go way back to the start of the season, I think I said Gorica would get relegated. I didn't fancy them at all, but then like you say, they brought in Piazzitti. Things have worked for them, and they do.
I put Slavin to go down.
Well, that is a worse prediction.
It is, but at the time, to be fair to me, Radonjic was the manager, and nobody of any good looks was coming into the club.
I mean, to be fair, I think I put Osijek to be 3rd. So
yeah, you did. You put Hajduk 4th.
Yeah, which, to be fair, 56 points should have you in 4th.
It should. It should. So what I also wanted to say before we go off, so Rijeka has 50 points less than last season after 31 rounds. Dinamo has 17 points less. Hajduk has 2 points less. So Hajduk is worse than at this point last season when we were going through our worst run in 40 years.
What's the difference in Osijek?
Oh God, I didn't calculate that.
It's more.
Yeah, it's more. So Osijek last season finished 4th with 57. That's after the full season.
So yeah, maybe they are only about. That must have been about 50 points at this time, maybe 49, something like that. So about 17 points off again. So yeah, well, what you could say in Gattuso's defense is that everyone else was arrested except Hajduk.
Yeah. But yeah, this weekend coming up, This weekend coming up is an interesting one, especially Sunday. Sunday starts off with Osijek hosting Hajduk, and then straight after we have Dinamo Rijeka at the Maximir. The first match of the last quarter between the top three sides, and it's a 6-pointer for the two sides.
I mean, everything's a 6-pointer, really. I mean, even I'd say
Yeah.
Barazin, I'd say, because everyone is into something at this point in the season. You know, Barazin, Lokomotiva. You know, if Barazin win, then they're level with Slaven. So
Yeah.
you know, then you're actually saying, okay, are Barazin going to get that fourth place, get that European spot potentially? You know, like say Osijek Hajduk, that's massive for obvious reasons. Dinamo Rijeka, massive for obvious reasons. Easter Slaven again, that's potentially
Also that's the best match of this round.
potentially we end this weekend with 3 teams level in fourth.
Yeah.
And then we round it off with a relegation 6-pointer.
Yeah. And we didn't. Yeah, you mentioned Valentin Lokomotiva. That's tomorrow, the only match on Saturday. And obviously, we have HNL Monday. Istra is no longer playing on Fridays; they've moved to Mondays. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting weekend, and it's gonna be an interesting end to the season. We have 5 games left, and my heart can only take so much, Haido. So please, either go on a five game run of wins or on a 5-game lose streak. Don't get in. Please don't get anything in between. I would rather us lose it than be like until the last match day. We can still do it.
I mean, to be fair, if they went on a 5-game lose streak, I think they probably would still be in it in the last game at this rate.
we're gonna depend on a deduction for Rijeka, deduction of points. But yeah. Also, I forgot to mention this joke. How Šibenik is still alive and has a chance to stay up. Maybe Ruder shouldn't have paid their players.
I mean, to be fair, it was also the managers as well.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, maybe they should have been playing the players. Maybe they should have been, hey, no hot water this week in the showers. Try and win a match.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, if they'd done points per game, they wouldn't have had to pay anything. As long as they don't, if they did the Kimi Raikkonen with Lotus deal,
yeah, exactly,
be rolling in it.
They would have been rolling in cash. But yeah. God. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I think we'll see you next week. Definitely.
I mean, thank you for tolerating really this season. And I don't mean the sort of gaps in necessarily inconsistent publishing schedule. I just mean the season in general. This has been the best adjective is interesting, because we can't say good. we can, but we can't really credibly defend that viewpoint.
No, we can't. Like I tried explaining this to two of my friends who I tell them about Hajduk and the HNL. Obviously, I send them any interesting stories that come up in the HNL. And the other day we were playing FM. We do an online save in the Serie A, and I was just trying to tell them about this season and why they should watch it, because it's not good. It's just interesting. You're gonna see something that's never happened before. Like, if Dinamo wins it, you've never seen a Dinamo side this bad win a league title. If Rijeka or Hajduk wins it, it's like, hey, Dinamo didn't win it. Or if Hajduk wins it, then it's like, hey, they've been waiting 20 years for this. They're the worst champions of the HNL. I wish that happens.
Congratulations.
I wish we win the league by 69 points. That's how I'm gonna end off the podcast. I'll have so much material for 69 until the end of my life.
Yes.
New favorite number is whatever points tally Hajduk wins the league with.
I mean, I do always like the amount of players in the region who play. It's particularly goalkeepers for some reason who have 69. I don't know why, but Abradovic, who was selling Nura, he did it. There's a couple in Serbia who do it as well. They're just like there's the idiot who used to play for Rednik Niš who played in Zero. Like,
Okay.
wow. But
okay. You have so many numbers, and you're like 0.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I liked it when who was it? Zambrano.
Oh yeah.
He was he couldn't get the number 10 at Inter, so he played in
Yeah.
1+0.
Yeah,
it was
1+0.
Zambrano.
Yeah, it was.
It was someone Chilean anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you guys for listening, and it's, as Richard said, an interesting season that's probably gonna go down to the last day, not because all three sides are gonna be great, because all three sides are gonna probably they're probably gonna win against each other, but then they're gonna slip up and the other team's gonna step up, and then God knows what's gonna happen on the last day. God knows. And I just wonder what the HNS is gonna do on the last day. Where do you send the title if all three sides are in it? You're like, who has the chance of least fucking it up?
Where do you base the helicopter?
Probably in Bosnia. Actually, no. I was gonna say probably in Bosnia because the three teams are. If you were to like do lines, but I think that would be just in Gorski Kotar, somewhere in the mountains at Velebit, probably. But yeah, I don't know. God forbid this season. I just want it to end. I just want a month of peace. Just a month of peace. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
We shall. Goodbye.
Bye bye.